Welcome to Real Estate Exposed, helping people in San Diego buy, sell, and refinance their biggest investment, delivering you timely truths, exposing important issues, and helping you get into the right home. Here are your hosts, real estate expert Daniel Beer, top-ranked professional by sales volume at one of San Diego's largest brokerages, and his mortgage partner, Todd with over $2 billion in funded loans.
It's our favorite day of the week, Sunday morning. Good morning to you. I'm Dan Beer with Windermere Homes and Estates. Todd Pianin, my most esteemed, trusted mortgage partner. Good morning, man.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
Everything is good. Everything's good with me, with the family, with you, it seems like. You look wonderful today, Todd.
Oh, you look dashing, Dan.
Thank you.
I love you and your Sunday best.
But is everything okay with the markets? What on earth is going on out there?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw, but, Sunday night, while we were sleeping, Asia was getting pummeled. China is, everything that we've talked about in the past about China is sort of coming true. There's multiple reasons why China shook up the market.
What have we talked about with China?
We talked about that China has basically, been pumping up their economy. They're going into what we went into before, which was like a QE phase, and they've been, keeping their economy kind of, they've been overinflating their economy a little bit, basically. And what's happening is they've been pumping up everything and trying to keep everything strong and keep their economy fruitful and helpful.
And do you mean artificially pumping everything up?
Artificially pumping.
So they're artificially pumping their economy.
Correct.
Through currency manipulation. Is that right?
Currency, cost of money, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know if there was a 60 Minutes article that basically showed that there are, they had a huge real estate boom like we did as well, but there are literally towns, Dan, in China right now.
I saw that.
That don't have, their homes are built, condos are built and everything's built and no one's living in them. So, I mean, they're people were buying homes, multiple homes, kind of like what we saw during our, during our real estate bubble. So, I mean, they've been doing all that kind of stuff, and so it's kind of what happened was I believe what they cut their interest rates. They're going into what we went into for our QE when we were pumping up our economy and dropping our interest rates to kind of to stimulate our economy and keep it going. So that sort of sent a bomb through the Hong Kong market, the Japanese market, and the Chinese market, which then on Monday bled over to our stock market. And on Monday you saw a massive drop in the Dow. I mean, you saw Dow 15,000. I mean, is where we got to.
And look, and this is Real Estate Exposed, right? So this is a real estate show, but we have to jump into these market issues. We have to at least be aware of them and make sure that that they're discussed here today, because everything is interconnected. Like no part of the economy lives in a vacuum. It's all interconnected, and as you can see, we're focusing most of this conversation on China. It is what we've known now for years. It is truly a globally interconnected market. So, you going back to Monday, you mentioned Monday, truth be told, I'm not the kind of person that just wakes up every day and worries about what the stock market's doing.
Right.
I just don't.
Right.
I let my professional handle that.
Right.
And I go about my business, and that's just how I go about things. But on Monday, I mean, it was a little bit startling. It was when you have 500-point drops and 1,000-point swings, and it was a little bit eerie in how what it reminded me of.
No, I mean we have a mutual client that trades. That's all he does is trade in the Asian market. And so when he was when he starts his day at 4:00 and he ends his day at 4 a.m, right? And
I saw him a couple of days ago, and the man is losing hair.
Yeah, the man is definitely losing hair. So I mean, I asked him, where the markets were at, when Hong Kong closed and Japan closed, and they were pre pre-Black Monday, conditions, he was pre-financial crisis conditions is where the markets closed. And so, it was I was expecting Monday to be a really bad day in the stock market and also a flight to bonds, which is what happened. We saw the 10-year yield, because the U.S. is such a strong economy and such a great safe haven that money, scared money flew into the bond market. But if you saw,
and what does that do here, Todd? That drops interest rates, correct?
It can drop interest rates. What ended up happening basically was because everybody knew it was more of a short term kind of play.
Okay.
The 10-year got under 2 for a brief moment, and then it popped back over 2. And then as the week went on, people got more and more comfortable, and we've seen the stock market rally back, and we closed, we're back over 16,000 again.
Wow. So let's break that down, because it's really truly amazing how interconnected everything is. You have a perception of an artificially inflated Chinese economy that comes to a head and causes a global stock market crash for a day.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
for a day.
Tuesday and Wednesday were a little rocky too.
Yes.
They were a little rocky.
Tons of volatility out there, but let's call it a very temporary. I just wanted to at least qualify the word crash because, we know what's happened since is that the market has also had days where it's shot up hundreds of points since then. So,
correct.
But we have this, temporary scare in the market, which drives tons of global money into the U.S. economy, into the U.S. market, into our bonds,
right?
Specifically,
right,
into our bonds,
which is backing
10-year Treasury note,
which is backing our government because they know
exactly
that we're not going to default on our debt.
So money rushes here to the United States, going into that 10-year Treasury bond. Gets heavily invested into, which causes the rate that it pays, its coupon,
to go down,
to drop.
Correct.
Which temporarily creates lower interest rates for home buyers in the United States.
Right.
Causing a window there where if you were one of the people ready to go, aligned with the professional mortgage advisor, a mortgage banker that had your back, had you ready to trigger your rate lock for your purchase. Somebody like Todd, then you took advantage of a rate that no longer exists today. Look how amazing that is. All of that connection going back to what's happening thousands of miles away.
It got connected like that, but what I would say was the bond market, we saw a dip in rates, but we didn't see an all-time dip in rates. Like we didn't. We had 3 days of decent rates, but nothing to get like, oh my God, this is we had people locked in on other programs that we couldn't even renegotiate their rate because the rate didn't get that much better.
It wasn't actually that significant.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct. So again, it's also a propping up like we've talked about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we talk about traders, how they make money in the stock market and they make money in the bond market by trading, right? So if they can use anything to their advantage to kind of, do some trades because they get paid on commissions and that kind of stuff, that they do that. And I think that we saw that, and I think that the mortgage-backed security market didn't react as drastically as one would have thought they would have.
Bringing that to what I'm seeing on the street in the real estate market, I don't have on a regular basis here since the cycle that we came out of 2009, 2010, that's all anybody talked about. But for years now, when we're going about our daily business, helping buyers and sellers getting in and out of property, nobody mentions the stock market. Nobody mentions any kind of fear. There hasn't been fear. And this week, I have to tell you, this past week, for the very first time, somebody did say, we really want to make sure that we get we get this deal, the contingencies on a deal we were working on removed and released and everything, cleared so that seller didn't have a risk of losing their buyer because they did begin to get frightened over all the volatility
of the market.
And this volatility, let me tell you, it may be here to stay for some time because a lot of the, a big source that controls a lot of this volatility, or at least has a strong hand in it, are going to be your high frequency traders and your very experienced big money players out there. They actually love this volatility. They are getting so rich on this volatility. You can't even fathom how much money is being made by those that are really connected to just how to take advantage of these wild swings. This is their heaven.
That's true. And something else I want to point out, Dan, which you're not going to be too excited about because he's not your favorite person on the planet, but the Donald called this. Well,
first of all, I'm warming to the man. And Tell me, what did he
He
say?
said we're in trouble with China. He said
he's been saying that repeatedly.
He's been saying that for a long time, and we are in trouble with China. I mean, that's one of the, I'm warming to the man too, and I'm actually kind of thinking that he's speaking the truth. He actually he's different than other politicians because he just sort of speaks and doesn't even think about what he's saying. But he called this. I mean, he called that we got some issues with China, and he thinks he can help fix that solution. He can make America great again. That's what he keeps. That's his slogan.
Now Todd's going too far. So because of that, we're going to be.
We got one more thing to be excited about, Dan, which you're not so excited about.
Tell me.
Next week, football season starts.
Football season is here, which is just awesome. One more year in San Diego. So for whatever that's worth.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we have a big show headed here for you today. We're gonna tell you what you do not want to hear from your listing agent. What do you not want to hear? And if you do, run for the hills. We're going to talk about why listing agents at times, when they just don't know what to do, immediately point to reducing the price. Have you been there before? Has your agent just immediately said, hey, well, I don't know why it's not selling. Let's reduce the price. We're going to explore that and what alternative solutions could look like if you had the right plan in place, and how not to get stuck in the rent trap. It is one of the most important, easy to understand, yet difficult to implement ideas, strategies, and concepts. Don't get stuck in the rent trap. This is Real Estate Exposed. Daniel Beer with Windermere Real Estate and Todd Pianin at Home Street Bank. That's coming up next. News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Daniel Beer with Windermere Real Estate and Todd Pianin
from Home Street Bank, which we are an FDIC and equal housing lender. Our NMLS ID number is 304014. Need to plug that in. Sorry, Dan.
Horrible timing for that, Todd. Man.
Wanted to get it out of the way.
Just brutal. If you're still listening, thank goodness for you. So, all right, we're gonna jump into. We talk a lot about what you do want to look for in an agent, what you want to look for, whether it be your buyer's agent, your listing agent, but what do you want to make sure you avoid?
What do you want to avoid?
There's certain things you just don't want to hear. So we're going to have a little segment here called What You Do Not Need to Hear from Your Listing Agent.
So,
all right.
So if my listing agent comes in and tells me how great they are, Dan.
Well, let's paint the picture.
Okay, let's paint it.
Right, because you've now decided to sell your house.
Yes.
You begin to interview potential agents.
Yes.
And by the way, even if you're interviewing me, I always say, hopefully you will interview somebody else. I personally like that because when you have a differentiated strategy that actually is backed by, process and education and a predictable, proven, you actually want that.
Right.
So you're interviewing agents and they're helping you get through the process. And of course, you're looking for someone that's, going to help you set the best and achieve the best market value for the asset, one of the largest assets your family probably owns. You're trying to establish a time schedule, right, to liquidate that asset.
Right.
And you're setting a service relationship as far as the fee relationship goes. You're figuring out what that's going to look like for the liquidation of the asset.
Right.
So if your agent walks into your house, or he's not yet your agent, this potential agent walks in your house, what do you not want to hear out of their mouth right out of the chute? And frankly, here it is. Two things you just want to make sure that you are looking for them not saying. Are they walking in and first thing, as soon as the interview begins, are they bragging about their success? Okay? What do
you mean by bragging about their success? I mean, talking about all the houses they've sold, or like how great they are, or how they did in the triathlon. I mean, what are they bragging about?
They're exactly right. So it could be any of those things. It could be they're bragging about their success of how many homes they've sold, how they're number one in this. By the way, next time someone tells you they're number one, ask them number one in what, and ask them to prove it and show you. Okay? Because everyone can be number one. Yeah, I'm number one. I'm the number one agent at X, Y, and Z company. Well, in what?
Right.
In the most amount of colorful socks, in sales in the last hour.
Right.
And what are you really number one
about? Right.
So it's so easy. I mean, it's pretty clear to everybody. I haven't yet met an agent that's not number one.
Got it.
So anyhow, here's the point. Yes, you are looking for somebody that's truly successful, that has a track record, and that has a proven plan and process. You are looking for that undisputably. But if what they lead into on the interview is all about them,
Right.
there's a red flag for you.
They should be talking about you, right?
Who are they there for?
You.
Okay, exactly? They're there for you, in theory,
Right.
supposedly.
Right.
We hope. So if they immediately jump into them, if it's all a me conversation regarding how great I am and how wonderful, I mean, that's a big red flag that you may or may not have somebody that's there for your best interest, regardless of the fact that they've been able to convince enough people to actually sell their home.
Right.
Okay? Second, if they're bragging about their company's success, then, boy, that's a red flag on steroids.
Right.
Okay? Because an agent walking into your house and bragging about their company's success, let me tell you, somebody in the industry, that is the number one employed strategy by somebody that has no success of their own. Because it is not about, these companies. There's companies out there, they have 300, 400, 700, 1,000 agents.
Right.
They're all independent businesses being run under the umbrella of the brokerage. So, trying to throw smoke and mirrors at you about the company's success selling homes does not mean necessarily that person sitting in your living room has sold any.
So what you're saying is that if they're picking an agent based on the company that they work for, whether it's we won't name companies, but picking it based on the success of a company they work for really doesn't dictate their success.
It doesn't dictate their success one bit, and I know masterminding with some of the best agents around the country, people that tremendous producers who are excellent at what they do. I can tell you that not one of them leads into any conversation talking about the success of the company. It's irrelevant to the strategy, process, plan, procedure. It's irrelevant to what they're bringing to the table that they're going to actually implement for the sale of your home.
Because you as an agent, you're really running a business inside of a business.
Absolutely.
Right? So it's really the team or the business that's inside the business.
If you were to deal with me, the Daniel Beer Group at Windermere,
right,
you would have an absolutely different experience than if you were to deal with another agent at Windermere. And by the way, I'm not talking good and bad here. I'm just talking different. Okay? Every one of us is different.
Right.
Or at least should strive to be.
Right.
Right? Okay? And so, yes, if they're leading and talking about their company's success, there's a red flag for you. So, because we want to make that clear, okay, what you are looking for then on the inverse is, you're really looking for somebody that's going to sit down with you, and before letting you know about what they've sold and who they've sold to and all that, which is all fine and good. There's a place and time for it.
Right.
Are they first jumping into what you need? Are they establishing your goals? Are they understanding where you're coming from? Why are they even at your home? Are they taking the time to understand that? Because something I've realized here over the years, nobody jumps out of bed and wants to sell their house. There is a reason. There's typically a deep reason behind every real estate transaction. I need to get my family to, this location.
Right.
Or we need to downsize because of my creaky knees. Or we have a financial issue. Or
too many stairs.
Whatever it might be, right?
Right.
My kids just moved to Phoenix and I really want to join them there. There's typically a real reason. There's human beings that you're sitting down in front of. If your agent's not treating it that way, beware. So Todd and I are doing something we did last week, and before we head into the break here, we want to offer it to you again. We are, because there was such good response, we're going to do it again this week. We're going to offer 3 more of you.
We're going crazy.
3 more of you the opportunity for an in-person walkthrough of your house with myself to see what intelligent fix-ups need to happen to prepare your home for sale, complimentary, or Todd will pay for your appraisal on a refinance. Text your name and number, to your name and email to 858-900-3368. 858-900-3368. More on that coming up next. We're going to discuss price reductions. This is Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO. Back with you. Hello. And this is Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO. I'm Daniel Beer. with Windermere Homes and Estates.
And I'm Todd Piana with Home Street Bank.
Home Street Bank, who we are so just thrilled to have Todd at because, man, it's just been a big game changer for our buyers and those of us that have clients refinancing. So we're going to jump into...
And purchasing. One of the things
absolutely purchasing.
Absolutely purchasing.
I said our home buyers.
Home buyers, true that. So one of the things I want to talk about is, I'm a reality show junkie, Dan. And
which is one of the reasons I'm friends with you.
I know. So that and the fact that I'm a big comic book fan too, which you don't care
Todd,
about either.
Bring up one thing at a time, please.
So so my big question to you, Dan, is I'm watching these reality shows, and every time they go back, they go back to their sellers, and everything they talk about is price reduction to try to get their houses sold. I mean, I rarely, and I do a lot of business with you, I do a lot of business, with other realtors as well, but I rarely hear you talk about price reduction. Why is this such like a big tool in their arsenal?
Well, one thing is we'll be able to ask Mr. Josh Altman when he joins us in studio.
That's true. September 16th, he's coming in here.
So we're going to have to grill him about that.
Right.
But, the price reduction is a tool that is very widely employed by agents. And the main reason behind it, in my view, is that when most agents go out to sign a listing, they're going to sign a listing.
Right.
Okay? Most agents aren't going to meet, just like what we talked about in the last segment. Most agents are not going out to meet with a home seller to understand their needs or what they're doing, where they're going, really figure that out, and then help them if there's help to be given. Most are going to sign a listing. It's understandable. It's understandable because the average agent in San Diego County will sell 3-4 homes this entire year.
Right.
Right. So if you really do the math on that, 3 to 4 homes a year at a median price point of roughly $470,000. You multiply that out by what the expected commission is going to be.
$2 million. They're making about $60,000.
Well, not even quite, because first off, they're making anywhere from 45 to 60, but they're also paying. That's gross income, and the biggest mistake that people in our industry make is think that their gross income is their real income. Then they're spending money on advertising and on fees and on board dues and all the rest of this that comes into play. Plus, it's not even really $2 million, right? Because the average median price point is $470. So by the time you break this all down, you're talking about most agents really making somewhere in about $40,000 a year or so. That's about what the average agent makes.
Right.
So most agents have the opportunity to go out and sign a listing, they're not going to want to walk away from it, regardless of how inflated the price is going to be. And then they employ the let's beat the seller down later strategy, through price reductions, and they figure if we can just get the price reduced enough, we'll sell the house.
So Dan, let me ask you this question. So I mean, at the home seller seminar that we did a couple weeks ago, which was fantastic. I mean, you only use prices that was the last thing you talked about. It was not even that big of an issue to you because you really feel like it's just part of the marketing plan.
Yeah, price is not at the center of an effective marketing process. It really isn't. It's a component of it, but this shouldn't be new, right? I mean, if you ever took a marketing 101 course, there was the 4 Ps, right? Product, placement, people, process.
Yes.
Oh, product, process,
people,
place,
right,
and price.
Yeah.
Price.
Another reality show, The Profit, by the way. He talks about that.
There's your 4th P, though, right? The price. It's one of 4, but it's just a component of everything else. So, see, if you don't have a process, if your agent doesn't have an actual system that they walk through, if they don't know how to capture the attention and the imagination of your buyer from the moment they jump online to when they raise their hand, how they're going to raise their hand, how they're going to get to the house, when they're going to be there, who they're going to be there with, what the environment will look and feel like, what they'll be told, and then how offers will be accepted, how they'll be presented, and if there is no offer, how feedback will be acquired, and then what changes we could make based on that feedback that doesn't always lead back to price.
Right.
Sometimes it does.
Right.
But not always. And if your agent doesn't have that process laid out and hasn't done it over and over and over and over again, and it's not proven,
right,
then they're probably going to lean back on price. I mean, that is eventually a surefire way to sell your home, but it doesn't always have to be. And I have a very recent example of how we've done it otherwise.
Well, so here's my question to you, Dan. So, like, I'm a seller, and I want to sell my house, and I think my house is worth, let's call it more than it's worth. So basically, I want to sell my house for more than it's worth, or what I potentially think it's worth. I mean, how do you have that conversation? Because again, I'm reality junkie that I am. They basically will take the listing. Let's say, $1 million, the house is worth 700. Are you going to take the listing for $1 million?
No, I won't. I will not do it. It's just a function of me really not needing to have my sign outside someone's house just for the sake of having my sign outside someone's house.
But they're going to beat you down. I mean, wouldn't the goal be to get them beaten down to $700,000?
That's what you see out there so much. It's totally not our goal whatsoever. Honestly, it's so draining on our energy to even have to go through that. It's just something you want to be aware of, right? What other way? What else can be done other than price? And it's not always that, Todd. It's not always that they're artificially inflated.
Here's my question, though.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that? Did you ever take a listing? I mean, you've been doing this for 10 years.
There was a point. I didn't do it nefariously. I didn't do it. I didn't do it conscious of what we just discussed. But yes, there was a point when I was newer, greener, go back 8 years, 7 years, 10 years ago,
right? Where,
heck, man, I was excited to get a listing.
Right.
I mean, that was just cool. I was like, hey, I've arrived. Yeah. So there's a time, that just happens a lot out there based on how many agents there are and how few transactions there are to go around and how the best take their absolute unfair share of them. But here's a recent example for you.
Cool.
Of a change we just did for a home seller.
Okay.
That did not involve price.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a listing. It's in a neighborhood that we do a lot of business in, actually, called Del Sur. It's a great neighborhood, north of the 56.
I think the school was just number 1 or number 2 in the
fabulous schools. Yeah, and great place. And so anyhow, we have a listing there where there's the issues we can't do anything about and the issues we can. Okay, so we were getting some feedback on floor plan and the layout, and we just weren't going to be able to do anything about it. We're also not going to be able to pick up the house and move it anywhere that it's not.
Right.
There's just certain things we want to be aware of, price them in, talk around them, create a strategy to complement them, but we're not going to be able to change them. But the house is sitting for longer than we're used to,
right.
Frankly, on my team. We're just not used to a house sitting this long. And we looked at it, and, there really are some walls in this house that are all kinds of different colors. There's just a lot of color in the house. And, we did stage the home, but this wasn't one of the elements that was originally addressed. And but now we've come back together. I've invited the sellers into my office. We spent an hour together. We really had a heart-to-heart. And the result was not, let's change the price. The result was, rather than doing a $10,000 or $15,000 price reduction, let's do $2,500 worth of paint, and let's turn this into a total, as neutral. And neutral, I don't mean bland. I just mean as widely appealing as we can on the color palette.
Right.
Because previously, remember, I said your agent has to know how to how to put that process together from the moment someone even sees the home online. Well, when someone was seeing our house online, they might have liked green, but they also had to like red. They also had to like orange. They also had to like beige.
So it's the colors of the rainbow, this house.
They had to like all the colors, right? And people make such snap judgments that, boom, they just click on the next button. It's just too much for their brain to process. And that's just how we are as people. I'm the same way.
Right.
So what we've done now is we did come together. We had that hour discussion. $2,500 of paint later, we're about to go back on. I'm investing myself into a brand new photo shoot that I'm not ever reimbursed for until we sell the home. And that's our approach rather than the alternative, which would have been a price reduction. So if you want to know what you should do for your house to prepare it for sale, I'm actually happy to come to your house. Todd and I are going to give 3 of you. So it's not everybody, okay, because we can't be everywhere at all times. But we are offering, just like we did last week, we're going to do this for 3 more of you. If you text your name and email along with the word fix-ups or refi, we will actually offer you one of 2 prizes in a drawing that we're going to hold. One is that I'll come to your house and tell you exactly what we should do in order to prepare the home for sale, whether you use me or not, by the way. Okay, it's not contingent on that. Or Todd, he'll actually pay for your appraisal if you're keeping the house and refinancing. So again, you either get me at the home for a free walkthrough of the most intelligent fix-ups you should do to prepare the home for sale, or Todd will pay for your refinance if you're keeping the home.
Pay for the appraisal.
Excuse me,
Give
pay
you a
for
credit.
the appraisal.
Give you a credit for the appraisal.
Pay for the appraisal. Pay for the appraisal. So the number to text is 858-900-3368. That's 858-900-3368. And just text your name and email right there. Let us know if you win. Let us know if you want the refi or the walkthrough. And if you choose the walkthrough, I'm going to be really excited to meet with you. Coming up next, we're going to be talking about how not to get stuck in the rent trap. This is Real Estate Exposed, News Radio 600 KOGO. All right, we're back with you, and we're going to show you how not to get stuck in the renter's trap. This is Real Estate Exposed. I'm Daniel Beer with Windermere and Todd Pianin here, Home Street Bank.
Yep, Home Street Bank.
We trust our clients too.
Yep.
So here are some interesting facts, and we need to have a discussion around this.
Okay.
Okay?
I'm gonna
And this is what they
fact-check
call
you.
the rent trap.
I'm going to fact check you on
You
this.
should. Because this is what they call the rent trap. All right, here it is. There was a study done by the National Association of Realtors, okay? NAR did a study. And they looked at income growth across the country along with rents,
Right.
okay, and ownership levels. And so here's what they found. Let's just jump right into it because we don't have long. We have about 5 minutes left with you. So what they found was that over the last 5 years, a typical rent rose 15% across the country. And in San Diego, by the way, they've been much greater. But a typical rent across the country,
15%.
rent up 15%, while income of the renters,
Right.
not even national rent income, but income of the renters, so employed people here,
Right.
grew by only 11%, which created a gap. And that gap is the renter's trap.
So that's a 4% gap that they're actually spending more money than they're actually making.
Well, no, not yet. But what it is that the rents that they're paying are growing faster than their income.
Right.
So they're still making more than they're spending.
Exactly.
But they're keeping less and less and less per year.
That's what I meant. Their savings is going down.
They're saving that bingo, right? Their
Right.
savings is going down, which leads to two potential disasters for them. One is that across the country, people are, as renters, we say to ourselves, I was a renter for a while,
Right.
right? But we say to ourselves, I'm saving for a down payment.
Right.
Well, the rate at which you're saving for that down payment is going totally backwards.
You're losing it.
You're losing acceleration.
Right.
You're it's getting harder and harder to do.
Right.
And then that's how you end up. I mean, this shouldn't be a surprise, by the way. This is just a study from the last 5 years, but this has been ongoing for years and decades, right? So
Since our parents' time.
and that's why you have career lifelong tenants.
Because they can't ever afford to buy a house.
Well, because they, there's a couple things in play. One is they might not be aware of low down payment options, which you've discussed and you have aware for available.
Right.
Whether anywhere from 0% down VA to 3.5% down to 5% down conventional.
Well, Fannie
Okay.
Mae just is coming out with, I think it's going to be in January. Don't quote me to this, but it's going to be like a 3% down program as well for conventional.
Okay, so there are absolutely options for people.
Right.
And so the call to action here is let's get that in place because your rents are rising faster than your income. So that's putting you in what's called the renter's trap.
Right.
Which, yes, okay, we just explored how that limits your ability to eventually save for that down payment that you want to save for. But even more scary, frankly, is that it's also eating into your ability to save for retirement.
Right.
And so, this is a huge issue. This is a very, very big issue.
Well, and people don't realize, too, they can borrow from their 401k, too, for their down payment, right, Dan? I mean, so people put a lot of money away in their 401k, and they don't realize they can use money out of their 401k for a down payment.
It's really about aligning yourself with a team of advisors. And let's get away from real estate because this isn't a real estate pitch here.
Right.
I mean, we're not just naturally – the fact that you don't know these things is not your fault. We're not naturally born just knowing. Okay, I mean, somebody that I really admire told me that we are a function of the people we hang out with and the books we read. Right? Like if you look at who you're hanging out with and what books are you reading,
it's a great rule.
That's probably who you are, right? That's probably who you're headed to be, and so where I'm going with that is, are you aligning with yourself with a group of advisors? First off, if you're listening to the show, you probably care. You care. You're not just one of the people out there sitting on a sidewalk looking for waiting for someone to give you a handout. You're not. I mean, frankly, you're just not.
No, agreed.
You're listening here because you care. You want to get your finances in order. You're looking to take care of advantage of opportunities. Your finances might already be in order, but you're just looking for more opportunity.
Right.
Get yourself aligned with a group of advisors. In real estate, sure, you should have advisors in real estate, like Todd, a lender, a realtor, etc. But who's managing your money? Who's helping you with business decisions, family decisions, etc.? Don't get stuck in the rent trap. Don't be one of the people stuck in the rent trap. And most importantly, connect with Todd and I, because we're giving 3 of you we're doing the drawing we did last week. We're going to do it 3 more times this week. Text your name and email to 858-900-3368. We're going to actually give you one of 2 prizes if you're one of the 3 people chosen. You get your choice of either having myself, Dan Beer. I'll visit you at your house. I'll walk through the home.
And he's a good-looking man.
This has been a really weird episode. So I'll come to your house. We'll walk through together. I'll tell you what are the most intelligent fix-ups that you need to make if you're preparing your home for sale. Or you might be keeping the house, in which case Todd will actually pay for your appraisal on a refinance.
Credit you for your appraisal on a refinance.
This is 858-900-3368. That's the text-in number. Your name and email, 858-900-3368. It's been a great morning with you. This is Real Estate Exposed on News Radio 600 KOGO.
Can't wait to see you next week.